I told you, Sarge, Boyle muttered unhelpfully. She is a killer, Boyle, Carter whispered in pure horror. A ruthless, cold-blooded killer. And this is all your fault. Boyle, all your fault for letting her into the barracks in the first place. The following morning broke over Camp Henderson with a clear, beautiful sunrise. Inside the barracks, the men of Company B were fast asleep, snoring softly in the peaceful pre-dawn quiet. At exactly 5:30 in the morning, the heavy wooden doors swung open, but instead of the usual ear-splitting roar, the crashing of garbage cans, or the blowing of a shrill whistle, a soft, melodic voice drifted through the room. "Good morning, gentlemen." The voice cooed gently. "Time to get up. Rise and shine, my friends." The men stirred in their bunks, groggy and confused. They opened their eyes to a sight that chilled them to the bone. Sergeant Vince Carter was walking down the center aisle, his hands clasped neatly behind his back. A massive, unnatural smile plastered across his face. "Up, up, up," Carter sang softly, clapping his hands together with the delicacy of a kindergarten teacher. "Upper belly. Up, up, up. Upsy-daisy, boys." He stopped at the foot of a particular bunk and leaned over gracefully. Pyle, my boy." Gomer snored softly, buried under his olive-drab blankets. "It is 5:30 in the morning. Time to get up," Carter whispered sweetly. "A beautiful new day is dawning. Pyle, oh, Pyle." Gomer finally stirred. He rubbed his eyes, sat up in his bunk, and looked around in confusion. He stared at the man standing at the foot of his bed, unable to process the bizarre reality. "Oh, did you holler, Sergeant?" "No, my boy, I did not holler," Carter replied. His smile stretched so tight it looked painful. "But I have been trying to gently get you up for a little while." Gomer scratched his head. "Well, that must be the reason I did not wake up. I am used to getting up when you holler at the top of your lungs." "Well, I did not holler today." Carter maintained his terrifying grin. Gomer leaned forward, peering closely at Carter's face. "Is there something wrong with your face, Sergeant?" "What do you mean?" Carter asked, his voice trembling slightly from the effort of maintaining the facade. "Well, your lips are spread out real funny," Gomer observed innocently, "like they are stuck." "I am smiling, Pyle," Carter said through gritted teeth. "Did you not ever see anybody smile before?" "Oh, sure I have," Gomer nodded honestly, "but it looks kind of funny and scary when you do it." Carter squeezed his eyes shut for a moment, silently praying for strength. "Why do you not just get out of the sack, Pyle? Please." He turned to face the rest of the bewildered platoon, who were sitting up in their beds, watching the scene in stunned silence. "All right, everybody, I would deeply appreciate it if I could see all you gentlemen out on the street in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Fellows, if you please. Hurry it up, thank you." Carter turned and marched out of the barracks, his back rigid. Corporal Boyle, who had been watching from the doorway in sheer terror, scurried after him. Once they were safely outside in the cool morning air, Boyle grabbed Carter's arm. "Hey, Sarge, what in the world was that? What was that Mr. Nice Guy routine in there? Are you finally cracking up?" Carter dropped a smile instantly, his face collapsing into its usual scowl. "No, Boyle, I am not cracking up. I am just getting in practice." "Practice for what?" "For that Taylor dame," Carter growled, rubbing his sore jaw. "When she comes back out here today, I have got to show her a completely different Sergeant Carter before she goes on that television show tonight. If she goes on the air and tells the world I am a monster, my career is finished." "Oh!" Boyle nodded slowly, understanding dawning on him. "Yeah, after your little talk with the colonel yesterday." "Exactly." Carter sighed heavily, pulling his cap down over his eyes. "After my little talk with the colonel, I got the definite, crystal clear feeling that I better come up with something fast if I want to keep these stripes on my sleeves." "Oh, is that what he suggested?" Boyle asked. "A brand new image for Sergeant Carter?" "No, he did not suggest it." Carter snapped angrily. "It was my own brilliant idea. It is just for one single day." "Boyle, just until that dame blows town. It cannot kill me to keep smiling for one day. No, Boyle agreed hesitantly, but it is liable to make you awfully sick to your stomach. Later that morning, the men of Company B were lined up in perfect formation on the parade deck. The sun was rising higher in the sky, baking the asphalt. Carter stood before them, his face muscles burning from hours of continuous, forced smiling. "All right, gentlemen," Carter called out in a cheery, upbeat tone. "Let's line up quickly, if you please. That is right. Quickly. Nice. Very nice work, everyone." As the men shuffled into their ranks, Gomer rushed out of barracks, tripping over his own boots and nearly taking down the two men next to him. "Careful, Pyle," Carter sang out softly, resisting the overwhelming urge to scream. "We absolutely must not stumble, my boy." Gomer hurriedly fell into line, looking thoroughly embarrassed. "I am sorry, Sergeant, but the reason I was late is I could not find my web belt anywhere." Carter walked over to him, placing a gentle, paternal hand on Gomer's shoulder. His smile was blinding. "Oh, well, that is perfectly all right, Pyle. An honest excuse is better than no excuse at all." Gomer stared at him, absolutely terrified. "Next time," Carter continued sweetly, his eye twitching slightly, "may I humbly suggest that you leave your belt right next to your bunk, so that you cannot possibly miss in the morning? Have you got that?" "Yes, Sergeant," Gomer squeaked. "Good boy." Carter patted his cheek. He turned and walked back to the front of the formation. Boyle leaned over the private next to him and whispered, "I think he is on some kind of heavy drug." "All right, gentlemen," Carter called out, his voice practically singing. "Left face. Forward march." The platoon began to march down the road, their boots hitting the asphalt in perfect unison. Boyle jogged alongside Carter. "Hey, Sarge," Boyle whispered out of the corner of his mouth. "I do not understand why you're doing all this smiling now. That Taylor dame is not even around. Yet, you never can tell with her, Boyle," Carter muttered through his frozen grin, his eyes scanning the horizon like a hunted animal. "She is sneaky. She can pop up any time, any place, from behind any bush, and I am not taking any chances. Left, left, hold 3. Nice marching, fellows. Very nice. Very crisp." They led the platoon over to the dirt training field for combat exercises. The men were instructed to crawl for the mud under barbed wire, a grueling test of endurance. Carter stood by, offering encouraging platitudes that confused the men more than the physical exertion tired them. Good, very good, men," Carter applauded softly. "Nice, very nice. Keep your heads down, fellas. We do not want any scratches. All right, men. Let us keep it moving beautifully. First men go through the wire again. Come on, let us go. You are doing wonderfully." Suddenly, a voice rang out from the edge of the training field. "Sergeant Carter." Carter turned and saw Corporal Boyle approaching, accompanied by the unmistakable floral dress and sensible hat of Beatrice Taylor. "Miss Taylor is here, Sarge," Boyle announced, taking a massive step back to get out of the blast zone. Carter took a deep breath, summoned every ounce of willpower he possessed, and beamed at her. "Why, Miss Taylor, it is so genuinely nice to see you again. Welcome aboard. Ma'am, welcome to Camp Henderson." Ampie looked at him suspiciously, clutching her handbag tightly against her chest. "Sergeant Carter, I came to see Gomer." "Well, we are absolutely thrilled to have you," Carter gushed, gesturing broadly to the muddy field. "And in fact, you are just in time to see one of our daily exercises. A lovely display of teamwork." "Thank you," she replied coldly. "Where is Gomer?" Carter pointed out into the mud. "He is right out there, ma'am. See, he is the one crawling under the wire, the one covered in the most mud." Ampie squinted against the sun, locating her boy in the dirt. She waved her handkerchief frantically. "Yoo-hoo! Gomer, I am here. I am right here." Out in the field, Gomer looked up at the sound of her voice. Distracted, he forgot he was holding a dummy practice grenade. He stood up slightly, tangled his foot in the barbed wire, fumbled a grenade,